Thank you, those Democrats that aren't as hungry as I am, for sticking around. I don't know how I got here between you and lunch, but I'll try to be as brief as possible and succinct as possible and try to distill my thoughts to one specific issue that I am consumed by, and I hope all of us as Democrats get consumed by. But first, a little editorial, because you heard from Dave, Kamala, John, everybody else, that we have a lot to be proud of out here in California for turning the tide in terms of the national agenda in the direction the rest of the country goes. And I guess as a former mayor of San Francisco, I could get away with quoting the late, great Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead. I just wanted to check if I was in the right audience. Because trust me, not a lot of politicians can get away with quoting Jerry Garcia. But there's a reason I quote him, because he said it better than anybody. He said, you don't want to be the best of the best. You want to be the only one that does what you do. That was what you did in California in the last election, and it's what our leader, John Burton, did for our party. So thank you, John, and thank you to all the Democrats for not being the best of the best, being the only ones that have done what you do. And by the way, it's just good to see John Burton, the best dressed leader of any party in America. Eat your heart out, Willie Brown. Eat your heart out. Hey, I think you heard some great speeches, and you really did. And as Lou Paulson was telling me in the back, he said, you got to be quick. You should just say ditto and get off the stage. But let me, as folks say in Congress, let me associate myself with so many of the comments of the previous speakers, because they recognize that we got a lot of things alien that are difficult in this state, that are alien this state, and we've got to reconcile them. But I will argue, and this is the reason I'm standing up here today, and this is my passion and focus as your lieutenant governor, that there's nothing more significant ailing this state outside the budget than the economy. We have got to address the issue of jobs and unemployment in this state. We've got to get serious about it. You all know this because you live this. There are 25 counties in the state of California with unemployment north of 15%. If you're in Imperial or Merced, heck, if you're in Colusa with the highest unemployment in the state of California, 26.7%, if you're in Sutter and others, 15% looks like recovery. Those counties and 7 others have unemployment north of 20%. Those are Depression-era numbers. We have got to turn this around. And you know better than I what lies beneath those numbers. The issue of race and concentrated poverty. African Americans in this state, close to 20% unemployment, not underemployment, unemployment. If you're an African American male, 16 to 19 years old, 42% that are searching for jobs can't find jobs. Latino community, just shy of 15% unemployment in this state. This is California. These numbers are unacceptable because these are about real people. These are about real lives. We have got to turn this around. So my singular focus, outside working with all of you to address this budget issue, is to get back in the game of creating jobs and reconciling these hard facts and this reality. The Democratic Party cannot cede jobs to the Republicans. We will not do that. They've got an agenda, but they don't have a plan. We need to not only seize this agenda, we have got to organize a plan, because if you want to turn this around, you got to ask yourself, where are these jobs going to come from? Where are these businesses going to grow? How are we going to find financing for them, and when? And perhaps most importantly, when those jobs open up, who's going to take them? And do they have the skills to be productive to turn those jobs into real careers? This is a state that for 15 years has not had a jobs plan. Those are the cold reality. We don't even have a delivery system once we organize that plan. We have 30 plus agencies in this state that have some role in economic development. No wonder we're so disconnected from this agenda. We are working very closely with the administration to put a plan together in the next 100 days, a plan that includes the jobs of today and tomorrow in biotech, life science, nanotechnology, a focus on building partnerships between our rural communities and our urban communities around an agricultural future, a framework that organizes around digital media, digital arts, and entertainment, and perhaps most importantly, we're not going to give up on manufacturing. Democrats cannot give up on manufacturing. It was not a passing phase in our economy. You know, isn't it interesting? Apple Computer, any of you guys have an iPhone? You ever see what's on the back of the iPhone? It says designed in California, but made in China. We got to turn that around. 1.2 billion cell phones in 2008 were manufactured, not one in the state of California. Not one in the United States of America. We had manufacturing that was 30% of our economy not too many years ago. It's down to 11%. We have lost 5.5 million jobs in this country in manufacturing just in the last decade. We have got to turn this around, and we can do it. We can do it, but we've got to have a plan. We've got to focus on advanced manufacturing. And if you're going to do that, you got to have an export strategy. You got to have a trade strategy. That's how you support manufacturing. But in 2003, we shut down our trade offices. We got out of that business. We've got to get back in because the world's changed in the last decade. It's not just about trading with our partners as we have to the north and the south and Japan and elsewhere. We got to get serious about what's happening in China, what's happening in India and the Karnataka region around Bangalore. Focus on what's happening in Brazil. We've got to build partnerships. We've got to focus on being competitive in this new world that clearly is, in many respects, outcompeting us at the moment. Now, here's the good news. I'm confident we'll get our mojo back. I'm confident that our confidence is going to return. And I'm confident that this state can once again lead the way. Why? Because the strength and concentration of human capital, there's simply not a state in this country that can outcompete our workforce. There is simply not a state. Most innovative workforce in this country. More engineers, more scientists, more researchers, more Nobel laureates, more patents, more venture capital in this state than any other state in the nation. And you all know this, 3 of the top 6 universities in this country are here in our great state of California. We can't outcompete as long as we're out educating. So I just want to reinforce this message to Democrats. Let us not cede this jobs debate to the other party that doesn't necessarily have our interest in mind. They want to roll back those environmental standards. They want to roll back those hard-fought labor rights. They want to roll back so many of the things we hold dear, not just as Democrats, but as Californians. But we have to seize the agenda, and we've got to draft that plan, and then we've got to get into the how business. We've got to figure out how to deliver on our promises. Because at the end of the day, folks hired us to do a job, not just to be in power. We have got to get back in the how business. We've got to produce results. I'll end with this, because I saw Fran Pavley in the back, and I'm a big fan of Fran Pavley, the real visionary behind AB 32, the Democrat that came up with our landmark climate protection bill. Please, all of you, do not allow some of your friends to question the merits of that bill in the context of economic growth. I know we say it all the time, the tyranny of or versus the genius of and, the notion that you can grow your economy and not have to do it at the expense of the environment, but we need to prove that. Just a quick point of reference. I don't know why we don't talk about this more. When the United States walked away from Kyoto, there were 44 wealthy nations that actually entered into Kyoto. There are 4 nations that will actually reach the Kyoto protocols. What are those nations? Sweden, Denmark, Germany, and the United Kingdom. Interesting little fact. Before Lehman Day, well, the wheels came out of our economy, September 15th, 2008. Those 4 countries had higher growth rates than the United States of America, had lower unemployment than the United States of America, and most importantly, perhaps as a Democrat, and I think something you all share, They had lower income inequality because of the number of businesses spawned, because they dramatically changed the way they produced and consumed energy. Why is it that we see the jobs discussion when it relates to the environment? This is our ticket to broad-based economic prosperity. Again, if we organize around that agenda. That's our gift. AB 32, the opportunity to lead this nation, not just this state and its regions competing against each other. So I look forward, in the context of working collaborative, all of you organizing around a green collar agenda, and to make sure those who are locked out of the old industrial economy are locked in to this new green economy, to begin to address those rural unemployment rates and suburban unemployment rates, not just our urban unemployment rates, and to get back in the business of job creation and job growth. Final fact, you put $1 billion into a coal plant, you generate 890 jobs. You put $1 billion into nuclear, about 1,000 to 1,500 jobs. But you put $1 billion into solar, 1,900 to 2,200 jobs, wind, 3,300 jobs. But if you want a game changer, retrofit existing buildings, 7,000 jobs for every $1 billion we invest. That's a jobs program. We know how to do this, but we need a plan and we need to move forward. So that's my admonition to all of you. I'm a proud pro-job Democrat, and I know I'm in an audience that understands the importance of embracing that agenda. I look forward to working with each and every one of you. We'll have that draft out in 90 days, and then we'll get in the business, again, of delivering on our promises. Because one thing I know, the promise of California and its fate and future, there's one thing I know, the best is yet to come. Thank you all very, very much.